Hello, my name is Joseph Arts. I am the owner of a small consultancy and software company and a CDISC volunteer for over 20 years. The largest part of the presentation will be demo movies, explaining what new opportunities arise for better and faster submissions and reviews by the new Dataset-JSON standard. These demonstrations use the Smart Submission Dataset Viewer, which is an open source software and which you can download from SourceForge. The demonstration also uses an early implementation of the Dataset-JSON API on our server. The first movie demonstrates how source data can easily be embedded into an SDTM file in Dataset-JSON format. The source data can be, for example, a lab message or an electronic health record. In the movie, we demonstrate an embedded electronic health record in HL7 FHIR format. We first select the define XML with the metadata, and then select the SDTM datasets, in this case DM, sub-VS and VS. We select to bring the supplemental qualifier data back to where they belong, into the parent dataset. And start loading the files. Let us inspect the vital signs dataset. We see that we have a supplemental qualifier VS SR CEHR, which contains the source electronic health record. We can display the embedded FHIR record in our favorite application for viewing JSON files, or can display the narrative part of the FHIR record. It also provides the line code of the vital signs test. In the second movie, we demonstrate how images can be embedded in the dataset and how references can be contained to video material to be loaded from an external server through a RESTful web service. We again first select the define XML and then the SDTM files in Dataset-JSON to be loaded. In this case, we will only need the vital signs dataset. And start loading. Here is our vital signs dataset. We see that there is a record for VSRS, which is not text, but an embedded image. If we right-click, we can have the image displayed in original size, or have it displayed using a desktop application so that we can enlarge it. 2 records further, we see that the value for VSRS is a reference to an external video file located on another server. We can retrieve the video and have it displayed on the desktop. The third demo is about using the Dataset-JSON API. The submission data is now located on a server, not necessarily as files, with the server application implementing the Dataset-JSON API. We can retrieve the define XML and the datasets using a RESTful web service. Once again, this doesn't require files. In our case, the SDTM data is in a database. The tool keeps track of the last used API calls. We want to retrieve DM, VS and AE. We also want to retrieve the data for subDM. Again, we want to bring back the supplemental qualifiers to where they belong, which is the parent dataset. And we start loading. The data is retrieved from the server, using Dataset-JSON as the response format. In the last movie, I will demonstrate the use of the API for filtering. I must emphasize that filtering is currently not part of the official API. I just made this extension to demonstrate the possibilities. For filtering, we use API query parameters. These contain the variable name, a comparator and the value for selection. This one, for example, allows us to select only the pulse values, or all SysBP values below 100, or all vital signs data for a single subject or only for subjects born before 1950. As a result, we then get 3 result sets back from the server. Here are the pulse values and the SysBP values below 100. And the vital signs data for a single subject. Once again, this filtering is currently not part of the official API. With these demos, I hope I have convinced you about the advantages of Dataset-JSON over SAS Transport. Dataset-JSON lifts all the limitations of SAS Transport, is really vendor neutral and ideal for use with APIs. Source records can easily be embedded and retrieved. The same also applies to audit trails, but we haven't tried that out yet. It is also easy to embed images as source data points and to reference video materials such as EMRs and retrieve them through a RESTful web service. With Dataset-JSON, we essentially do not need files anymore, though we can still use them, as we can retrieve everything through the use of APIs and RESTful web services, and even do filtering on the fly. Here is a short summary of the opportunities created by Dataset-JSON. In combination with APIs, Dataset-JSON allows for much better and faster cooperation in the development of submissions. One can even think about a shared zone between sponsor and regulatory authority, where data is added already early in the process. Like this, communication and exchange can start much earlier, which ultimately can shorten time to market considerably. It is much easier to develop software tools for Dataset-JSON than it is for SAS Transport. For example, I expect to see a considerable rise in the availability of mapping tools that do not require SAS or R, use graphical user interfaces, and are extremely user-friendly. As Dataset-JSON is an open standard, it encourages the development of all kinds of software tools. The only limitation I see is lack of creativity. A list of already available tools can be found on the CDISC Open Source Alliance website. A few conclusions. Dataset-JSON can revolutionize the electronic submission process. It is a modern exchange format ideally suited for use with APIs. With the use of APIs, there is no need for files anymore, but it is of course still possible. In principle, reviews can start and be finalized much earlier, which can lead to a considerable shorter time to market. Thank you.